This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Solutions, the leading iGaming PAM platform with a modular approach, including many benefits like a fast, secure, and scalable API-based platform, integrated with all major third-party products and services. Make sure you head over to Pragmatic Solutions and join our smart thinking.
Welcome to the Next.io podcast here for an episode that I'm particularly excited about today with the CEO of Kambi, Kristian Nylén, here with us today. How are you doing, Kristian?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And I can tell you, Kristian, in the couple of years that we've hosted this podcast, we've hosted a lot of high-profile guests from the industry here. But I don't think there's anyone who has been as requested, especially not in the last 6 months, as you actually, Kristian. Right. There's a lot of your dear investors who have been really keen and excited to know more about the company and the pivot that you are currently undergoing here. So I'm very excited to have you here.
Of course, that sounds good to me as well.
Yes. Hopefully we can do it justice here today. But as a starting point here, Kristian, I know that you obviously have had a remarkable career, starting from a trader to co-founding Kambi and building this remarkable company, of course. And it seems that your love for sports especially runs quite deep. So I just wanted to kind of start off today. If you could talk a little bit more about your background, your love for sports, and perhaps most importantly, what odds is Tesseract currently giving Manchester United to win the Premier League?
Oh, I have no idea about that one, to be honest. I don't really want to know that either. So my background, I studied economics many years ago, and then I was working for a few years in corporate finance in Stockholm. But I was also a good friend of Anders, who started Unibet. So we shared passion for sports and betting. So at some point I took a leave of absence. He has to go over to work for a very short while. He has to do something else. But I thought it was so fun. So I kept on being in London, working with Unibet. And then a few years later, we started Kambi.
Amazing. And so, fast forward now a couple of years. Obviously, Kambi eventually was a spun out business from Kindred, and you separated the company in 2014, I believe. And kind of like where the company became really prominent, I suppose, was after the repeal of PASPA over in the US in 2018. And you guys were really, really fast to capitalize on this move by the Americans, and you did some quite high profile signings there at first glance. Like what led you to the success in the initial success in the US? Like how come that you were so quick to capitalize on PASPA when others were not able to do that?
I think very early on in Kambi, I mean, we looked at US as an amazing opportunity. I think I was over visiting most of the casinos in 2011, 2012 somewhere. I came back and said, okay, this will not happen for at least 5 years, but we should be prepared. So I mean, when it comes to how we looked on the regulatory piece, I mean, we have been really focused on regulated business all the time. We probably a few years before PASPA happened, we felt that, okay, things are going to happen. The commissioner in NBA started talking positive about sports betting. You had, of course, the process in New Jersey and so on. So we felt that, okay, now it's time to really go for it. And so we were quite prepared. We had already started looking at, okay, how do we need to evolve our retail business, which we thought would be very, very important. So we had already some retail installments in casino in Cambodia and a few sports shops in Belgium. So we had that in place. We had done a regulatory solution in South Africa that was very helpful when this opened up in US. So and then of course we had been in very early discussions with especially RSI, Rush Street, and DraftKings. So when PASPA happened, I mean we had 2 customers that was ready to sign.
Right, and so you obviously found early success in the United States, and to some extent the share price kind of shot through the moon at that time, and the expectation was perhaps that Kambi was going to be kind of the leading sports betting solution for most of the tier 1 operators over in the United States. But then the trends changed all of a sudden, where this push towards vertical integration became a really big thing between the tier 1 operators in North America. Obviously, that led to DraftKings then merging with SBTech. Penn obviously recently exited as well with their proprietary technology. And obviously the share price then subsequently came kind of back to earth, if you will, in this new reality of kind of shifting to more modularization and so on. But I want to ask you, what was there, in hindsight is 2020, of course, Kristian, but why was Kambi not able to kind of predict the trend of a more modularization kind of approach and kind of stick to the guns of the turnkey solution during that time? Was there any particular miss or mistake at that time? Or if you in hindsight look back, is there anything you could have done differently, do you think?
I mean, at the point, I don't think we always knew that we should modularize the service. If not for any other reason, that the technology becomes much more efficient to work with. But we were not really in a place where we could do it at this point, because we had so much to do with open up new regulations in US, make the American sports more fit for purpose for what our customers wanted. And I think when it came to DraftKings, I mean, they were quite clear already before we started with them, but I mean, their ambition was to be in-house. I think we hoped we would get a few more years out of them, of course, but of course, the way to do that was to really deliver on the product, which I think we did. And I don't think it was that was the driver for them. I think it was more to create a story to the market that being vertically integrated was where they wanted to go doing the SPAC.
Right.
And I think that success of their SPAC maybe had a snowball effect on what happened in some other situations that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Right. So it's kind of like you kind of chose to go down the path at first to work with the product that you have in order to quickly and efficiently establish yourself in the US with the operators at that time. And maybe if you would have focused on modularization as a priority, you wouldn't have been able to enter the US as early as you did, kind of thing. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, or we could probably have entered US, but not with the success we did. And I mean, okay, we don't have DraftKings and Penn. We only have retail now, but we have a lot of customers. So I mean, I still think we are quite successful in US. And if you look at our quarter report last time, I mean, Americas is more than half of our revenue.
Yep. Right. And so to that end, now the company seems to be pivoting towards the modularization approach. And I want to just ask, technically, product-wise, how difficult is it to pivot a highly technical product that has been built as a turnkey solution into a more modularized approach? I suppose this doesn't happen overnight, right? And like, how long time does it take to kind of like fully revamp the product into being able to be offered in a more modularized way?
I'm not sure what fully is, but I mean,
right.
Where we're looking at it is it doesn't have to happen everything overnight, but the front end, I think, has always been quite modularized, and our customers has always been able to choose their own or go with us. With acquisition of Shape, it's even more choices there. I think Tesseract is a big part in how we see the modularization becoming more and more efficient. And then we on our end, we are building a gateway so we can accept the pricing from Tesseract and from Abios, who do the same on Esports, but also taking in other third parties in the future, possibly.
Right. I want to. So I would love to talk more about Tesseract, AI, and so on a little bit later in the recording as well. It's a fascinating topic for this podcast, of course. But before we jump in there, I also wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the elephant in the room to some extent. Obviously. Kambi is an offshoot from Kindred. You obviously share the same co-founder as the co-founder in Kindred, in Anders Ström over there. And traditionally, Kindred has been the biggest client, I suppose, for Kambi. And of course, recently, Kindred announced that they are also kind of approaching the Sportat product from a proprietary perspective in the future, and they have extended your contract to 2026. But the idea is that they then will migrate over to their own platform here. And in connection with that, they also had this convertible bond in Kambi that you chose to now repay. This was part of this like poison pill kind of bond and clause that they had in order to kind of keep control a bit over the company and its strategic decisions. When this was announced, speculation started immediately that Kambi was up for sale, and you repaid that convertible bond in order to potentially complete a sale of the company. Can you just talk a little bit? I know you've mentioned this before, but can you talk about a bit more why you chose to repay that convertible bond? How do you see that strategic freedom playing out? And do you think Kambi in general is a attractive acquisition target by potential major tier 1 operators or even suppliers in the industry?
Yeah, so I mean, when you have a convertible bond, a bondholder usually have a few restrictions that is not always great to have to be tied to, and also whether we are for sale or not. Just the sheer fact that you can't be sold also have an effect on the share price.
Right.
So when Kindred announced, when we announced the new contract, we also announced that we had fulfilled the demand to do an early repayment. But we actually didn't do it until a few months ago. So yeah, it was speculation, but I mean, we actually never paid it back until a few months ago, and I would guess now is probably not the most likely period to get acquired by anyone. I don't think the fit of tier 1 B2C operators are that great, mainly because, I mean, most people have seen what happened with the acquisition of SP Tech, and I mean, you eventually don't have any customers left, and I don't think DraftKings had an ambition to keep the customers, but I mean, it makes that acquisition quite expensive.
Right.
So, but I would expect. I mean, I don't see many alternatives to us if you really want to have a premium top class sports betting solution. So yeah, I can see other B2B suppliers in the industry. They can possibly be a fit at some point in the future.
Right.
But having said all of that, I mean, I don't think that is the ambition of a company at the moment.
All right. And so, ironically, in a way, when the merger happened between DraftKings and SBTech, in a way, of course, you lost a major customer there. But in another sense, that opened up for you hunting new customers, which were the kind of ex-SB Tech customers, right? Like commercially in the company, was that like a specific strategy? Because I know that you were able to acquire some of the old SB Tech customers, right?
Yeah, of course, you always look on what's out there, and I think most of SPTech business was maybe in markets where we were not so keen to do business.
Right.
But I think there was a few targets we absolutely had. I think you have seen two of them come to fruition in the last couple of months here in Svenska Spel and Live Sport.
Right.
So
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, both ex-SBTech customers, of course. But if we flip the dime around, then I asked you if Kambi would be potentially a good acquisition target for others. But you have also done some M&A yourself in the last 2 years in Shape Games, which is kind of focusing on the front end development, and Abios, a esports data provider. And so this happened around 2 years ago. These companies, I would assume, are now fully integrated into Kambi's operations. And so, can I ask you, what was the rationale behind those two acquisitions? And now, 2 years later, what has the result been from these two acquisitions?
Yeah, so Abios was 2 years ago. Shape was more or less exactly 1 year ago.
Okay. Yes.
I would say that the rationale of Abios was we feel that, and we saw it during COVID especially, that there are a growing interest in esports. We don't really believe maybe that it will be a massive breakthrough in the short term for sports betting, but especially if Asia is open up, it will be vital. But it is also a very good complement, and not the sport where we wanted to focus most of our resources. So acquiring a specialist was we felt was the right way to go here. And so far, I think we're very pleased. They, since a few months, have been starting operating pricing, which was a product they were developing when we acquired them. And now they have their first external customers, and they are running the pricing for Kambi for CSGO as well. So it's looking very promising, but I wouldn't say we can really evaluate yet whether this will be a great success or not.
Right. And
Shape, of course, is even younger acquisition. I think it has helped us greatly in winning some deals. So already there, we see some very positive signs. I think it was instrumental to win Svenska Spel, for instance. I think we have been quite good on upsell their services to our existing customer base as well. But when we will see, the biggest part of this is when we will be able to really integrate the front ends between Shape and Kambi. So we get one solution, and then we can also get some synergy changes. But that will take a little bit longer time because we have a lot of customers are dependent on our existing front end from Kambi.
Right. And particularly Abios, the esports data provider, especially during COVID and the COVID era, the sports betting was kind of pivoted towards esports there when we didn't have any sports for some time, and the hope was that esports was going to be kind of the next big thing in sports betting. But from an outside perspective, it doesn't seem like esports betting has taken off, at least not yet. So what is your expectation there on Abios going forward? I believe you communicated this in the last quarterly report that the company is not profitable to date. Do you expect the esports segment to grow in the future? Will esports betting become a thing? And is it perhaps a disappointment that esports betting hasn't taken off more than it has so far?
No, I think we are a little bit behind where we wanted to be. When we bought the Abios, their revenues was from creating content and helping out with data for customers. Whereas the big part for us was, okay, can they become a provider of odds to Kambi and to others? And that is where I believe that the biggest benefit will be. And as I said, I don't really expect us to see a massive uplift on the traditional esports in Europe over the next coming years. It's probably a longer term thing. But what we saw during COVID, and that has continued to some extent afterwards, is a massive interest in betting on e-soccer, like FIFA. And
All right.
so it's more on that, and I would say at the moment than it is on CSGO and Dota and those games.
All right. Fair enough. So I want to jump over with the discussion onto AI and the opportunities that this potentially will bring to your company and others within the sports betting industry. Again, this from an outside perspective, it seems like pricing games within sports betting seems to be an incredibly exciting use case for AI. First of all, do you think eventually all trading will be done we are pricing from AI? And do you see this as kind of like an opportunity to lower operational expenses by hosting smaller trading teams? Or do you see kind of like more opportunities to make the product better as well with the use of AI? It'd be interesting just to hear your thoughts on this, why AI is such a huge opportunity for the company.
Yes, I think that is exactly. It's mainly about getting the products to a different level. And when you work with AI, you have so much more opportunity. You can, but only I would say limitation to how large offer you can have is what data you have access to. When you do this with human intervention, we have worked with algorithms for many years, but it has more been algorithms that is been run by humans tweaking parameters in during the matches. Now it will be the other way around, but humans will still look at it. So if something goes really wrong, but the models can take care of everything else. But I think for foreseeable future, you will still need some human intervention when things that models can't foresee happens. I can take a great example where our models totally couldn't handle it was, if you remember, the Brazil-Germany semifinal in Russia. What is it now? Was it 2018 or something like that? When there was a 3-0 lead after a few minutes, and models had not really seen that before. So all of a sudden, our traders more or less had to start trade it manually. But I guess our models may be able to take care of it now, but there will always be edge cases where the data is not strong enough. With this, I think we will get, as I said, a much greater offering, and with especially the introduction of bet builders. I mean, everyone wants to go deeper and deeper into new things. I think the next big trend is micro-betting. That is also something that you get more and more opportunities to do with AI. Whether we will do it on all sports, I'm not so sure. We will definitely do it on all large sports. I think we are planning to start running tennis beginning of next year as well, hopefully, and then we will roll out more sports. But I'm not so sure we will ever do alpine skiing, for instance, on an AI-powered model. But you never know.
There's just isn't enough data, basically. Is that the reason why you don't go into niche sports?
Yeah, and also it's possibly not worth to build the models, even if you have enough data.
It's expensive to build the models in the first place, I suppose, and train them and so on. Yeah. Is there? But do you think so? So like you gave a good example there of like where the AI model still need human intervention. You know, the human is still important in this day and age, right? In 2018 or in 2023, when there are these edge cases that the models perhaps doesn't have enough data on. But do you think it's just a matter of time before the models become so good that the human is completely taken out of the equation? Or do you think that the human will always be overlooking the trading?
I wouldn't say it's impossible, and I mean, I think I've seen this like eye recognition things you can use where you can, more or less measure stress of people. I mean, they are using that mainly in maybe customs and stuff like that at the moment, but I mean. I'm sure you could use it if you had a real-time TV picture to see if a tennis player is very nervous and changing the odds because of that. And if you would be on that level of data, then the human intervention would be very, very low, I think.
Right. So that is a thing actually that traders look for. I mean, obviously in tennis, it's
no. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It was just
it breaks the racket, and it's like the odds are affected by that. Let's say, yeah.
That's not the thing at the moment, but I think if you had that kind of technology, it certainly could sharpen the prices in the field.
Exactly. I hope they don't. I hope they haven't integrated this eye tracking software in the customs, because I always get unreasonably nervous when I go through customs, even if I haven't done anything wrong. Anyway, so if we look forward like 1 to 3 years here, Kristian, in how the kind of AI tools are developing, what's your predictions in how you will continue to evolve the company and the products and so on, using AI and the progression within the field of AI in general?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean the main target with this is that the customers we have on a fully managed service will get an even stronger and more competitive product. Having said that, I do believe that the market for us for the really big tier ones that have their own in-house technology will be a big target market for us with this pricing on certain sports. And I think quite a few of them has talked about that. Yeah, they don't have an intention of doing everything in-house. They are focusing more on their core sports. So I see a great opportunity here.
Right. So the Tesseract is like one great example of the company now pivoting to a more modularized approach, where this particular product will be offered as a standalone module for those like the DraftKings of this world and so on and so forth. Yeah, interesting. So to summarize AI, so from an outside perspective, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Kristian, but it looks like basically what AI can do for you is traditionally you have humans who are setting fixed odds on fixed outcomes. So it's basically the customer is presented with this is what you can bet on. This is the offer that we will give you, and it's a very like kind of fixed way of being able to bet within the realms of what Kambi deems interesting for the player. Like here is the fixed odds and the fixed outcomes. Whereas with the use of AI being so flexible and being able to kind of act on data in real time, maybe the customer can come up with their own alternatives in how they want to place their bets. Maybe there's some very like niche way they want to place betting. Like what if there's 2 corners for one team followed by one throw in from another team, or like very specific. Is that kind of where things are heading, that the product become much more flexible for the customer?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, yeah, if you think about it, when you do things in a match, everything is correlated. If you take the most simple thing, betting on over 1 goal and a home win, I mean, it should be exactly the same price as a home win, because you can't win by less than half a goal. So when you get to that situation that, okay, you want to have anyone to yes, as you said, design corners, bookings, how many goals, what players are scoring goals. The more and more powerful models you have, the more flexibility you can give to the customers.
Yeah, interesting. And so obviously that will massively accelerate the product experience for the customer. Instead of being like ring-fast within like these fixed fixes, then now they have the opportunity to obviously bet in the way they want to bet, so to say, the customers. Another point you mentioned earlier here as well, Kristian, is the kind of new emerging trend of micro-betting that is particularly emerging in the US. So you have companies like SimpleBet, Kira Sports, of course, and Venue who are launching their micro-betting products. And it seems like the micro-betting product is born out of especially American sports, which are very start and stop based, right? Which enables you to make this quick kind of AI powered simple bets that is presented to you. And I just want to bring a comment up from the CEO, the founder of SimpleBet, Joey Levy, who also runs Better over there. He talks a lot about the fact that he feels that the current betting experience that is offered by products like Kambi and others is way too complex for the casual new user who kind of opens Bet365 and is presented with this like really complex spreadsheets of different type of odds that are really difficult to understand. And he makes the argument that it's a very non-intuitive and quite scary product to be presented with for kind of new and non-tech fluent users. And he wants to instead offer this much easier and intuitive and kind of like Silicon Valley approach to a nice and simple UX and UI. And he thinks that is a more suitable experience for especially the casual better. What do you make of that comment? And do you think that the product that is offered by the operators today in general are too complex and non-intuitive for the casual user?
Let me say like this: I think there is a lot of room to come up with new ways to design the user experience for customers. Having said that, I do believe that a large chunk of sports betting revenues will always be on quite experienced players. So I don't think you should scrap this way of doing it, but I especially think there is a lot of companies who could grab a market that is not really anyone has been targeting, but by doing these kind of things. But I don't think it will be like world changing in the way that you will add enormous amount of revenues to it. But again, I think this is exactly what we believe operators can do on top of Tesseract. They can build new microsites where they can create different experience for different target groups.
Right, and is microbetting like a dedicated microbetting product something that you would be interested in building as well, perhaps in response to the ones that are propping up now?
yeah, I mean, we'll see. This is not a new thing. I think
It happened
we
in
did.
Europe as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had betting on point by point in tennis 20, 2009 or something like that, maybe. And I mean, we have been changing the pricing between the first and second serve since day one on it. So I would say on American sports, you get more opportunities to do more and more things because you have a start and stop, so you can do a little bit more interesting things with it. But I mean, yeah, we have done outcome of every pitch for many years as well, which is probably the one, the most important micro bet out there for anyone at the moment.
Fair enough. So looking forward now, Kristian, as well, you have set a very ambitious growth plan for the company up until 2027, where you're hoping to double or triple the revenues compared to 2022. I'm curious as well, in the quarterly report, you outline a couple of goals on how you're going to reach that target. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like part of the target is that there is an expectation on new markets opening up. I think you mentioned particularly new major geolocations in Asia, for example, being opened up. So I want to talk about, like, in this goal that you have set up to double or triple revenues, how much is dependent on what you can do and what you control operationally, and how much of the goal do you depend on other markets being opened up or expanded and so forth in Asia, in Latin America, in North America, so on and so forth?
Yeah, we have not quantified it. I will not do that for you either, unfortunately, right, Pierre. But
it was a good try.
But it is very important. I mean, the markets we were mentioning. I mean, Brazil is an enormous country. We talked about California and Texas, that is almost half of the US GDP. And we talked about at least one of Japan or India, which is bigger market than any I've ever mentioned. So it has a very, very big impact for us if this will happen or not. Yeah. So far, I mean, we would probably have expected that Brazil would have happened already when we made these targets. I wouldn't say that if Brazil is happening next year, that doesn't really change our outlook. But if markets are not opening up until 26, 27, I mean, it will be very hard to get the full revenue from it. So I mean, we need the markets to see some more progress on the other markets. I would say that we were quite disappointed in the spring when Texas didn't get the approval for sports betting, for instance.
Right.
On the things we can control, I mean, I think we have taken an amazing leap this year. I mean, we have resigned I think 7 of our customers this year, of which some of our more key customers. We have done 10 new deals, of which a few quite large ones, especially the last Bally's, Livescore and Svenska Spel. I think we have come a long way with Tesseract. So even if you don't see it so much in the result yet, I'm really pleased with what we've been able to achieve during this year.
Yeah, right. So it feels a little bit, again, like the company has undergone a structural and strategic change. Now, would you say that you have come to the point where this new strategy is rolled out? You are now taking a new approach to your commercial side and how to acquire customers and so on, and it's now kind of full steam ahead? Or would you say that there's still some work to be done operationally before you can fully start that commercial push?
I mean, there is some more work to be done. If you remember, if you have listened to our quarter reports, I have been telling for a few quarters that we had to push the sales of modular services because we have taken on some demands from the new signings we have done. So there is some more work to be done. I wouldn't say it's like a total strategy revamp either. For us to reach the targets we have set up, the majority of the money will still come from managed services, and I still look at the modularized services as a smaller party even in the future.
Right. And just two more questions for you here today, Kristian, before we carry on with our day here and head for lunch, I suppose.
Right.
First and foremost, related to the question of AI, are there other emerging technologies, do you think, in your field, which potentially could help reshape or improve the product? Like do you think any major disruptive technologies as we look forward in the next couple of years?
No, but I mean, if you look at the history of, as long as I've been in this industry, I mean, the fundamentals of sports betting has not really changed at all. It has been like what technology has made possible. But I mean, live betting, what needed to happen was that technology become so fast, so it was possible, and we also needed scouts on the arenas to make it really take off. Mobile betting has been like, it didn't take off until the iPhone came, more or less, and then it totally changed the world. So often it is, we are only reacting to new technology, more or less, and at the moment I would say, the cloud is probably the other big thing outside of AI, that you can become more and more efficient on how to store data as well. So that is, probably the two things that are really driving it at the moment.
Right. And last but not least here, Kristian, I'm also curious, from someone who's, I'm kind of building a company myself on my front, and I'm always curious to ask those who have a lot more experience than me. As an entrepreneur, you founded Kambi, of course, you built the company for many, many years now. I think we're at the 14th year next year. I assume that you could easily step away from the company whenever you want and kind of sail into the sunset and so on, Kristian. But why do you keep pushing and investing, time, effort, sweat, blood, tears into this company as the CEO? What is it that drives you forward?
I don't know. It's many things, I think. I mean, I don't really feel I've taken it where I wanted to take it from the beginning. You feel a lot of responsibility for everyone working here, so that is probably a big driver as well. Honestly, I think it's more fun now when everything was very rosy and the share price was in about 500. So I think I like the challenges more than when everything is feeling very good.
Yep. Spoken as a true leader. Kristian, thank you so much for taking your time here today. We really, really appreciate it here, and we hope to do this again sometime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.